Alright, hey everybody, this is Corey with Retromoji. Today we're going to be looking at the Powkiddy X70. I just picked this up a few weeks ago directly from Powkiddy. Again, I did pay for this with my own money, so it's not, a supplied review, no promotion, anything like that. I picked this one up because I wanted something that had a larger screen. This was the largest one I could find within the price range that I was looking. So somewhere I wanted to keep it economical, somewhere in the $50-$60 range. That way, if somebody was just looking, some random person just looking, wanting to play retro games, maybe as they did when they were a kid, or play some of the old games with their kids, and they didn't want to spend or invest a lot of money, they could grab something like this. So how we're going to do this today is I have already unboxed this. I did take it out and kind of look at it and go through it and play some games just out of curiosity. So this isn't an unboxing. I basically just put it back in here to keep it protected, keep it safe. So we'll take it out of the box, but how I'm going to break this up is I'm going to try to break this video up into sections, right? So it's easier to follow. So we're going to go over like design and build quality, display, controls, the performance, the audio, the user interface, the storage capacity, stuff like that. Try to keep it as organized as possible. If at any point during this video you want to skip ahead and see during certain sections, I will have chapters included in this so that you can. So we're not going to delay anymore. We're just going to unbox this and we're going to get into it. So similar to other Powkiddy stuff I've seen, this is my first Powkiddy device. But all the ones I've seen, they come in this very similar yellow box. Some of them I've seen do have Powkiddy written on them. I believe this one doesn't. There's no reference to Powkiddy anywhere on this box at all. So it's that's kind of strange. It just says model number X70. But anyways, like most devices, Ambernick or the Mew or any of the other ones I've seen, they come wrapped in this plastic. This one didn't, however, have the foam protector that some of them have. This one was just blank. It did have a screen protector on it. I have peeled that off. So there's that. It comes obviously with the handheld, and then you get this user manual, and then there is a small 3-foot USB-C cable that comes with it as well. So I did charge this up previously. Like I said, I did take it out of the box. Wanted to make sure it was nice and charged for us, so when we get to the gameplay part of it, we can see that. So first we'll go over the design and the build quality. I've heard a lot of reviews talking about how it was such a poor quality and it was light and fragile and was flexible and all that. I kind of disagree. Is it not the highest quality handheld out there? Yes, but for a 7-inch screen, for something of this size for $60, I think it's pretty good. I don't really have any complaints with that. There are some issues, obviously. I mean, it's not the highest quality plastic, but again, just remember $60. There are some issues with the grips. There is no kind of bulbous or ergonomic jut outs in the back here, or handles. It's just flat. So it is kind of flat in the hand to grab, but it's not uncomfortable by any means. The plastic is a matte finish, but it is very smooth. It feels good, and it for long hours worth of gameplay, it might get a little bit uncomfortable, but for, I'm a medium sized hand person, and it's comfortable. All the buttons are easy to reach. The shoulder buttons, it does only have the two, right? So you have R1 and L1. There isn't the secondary R2, L2. But the two that you do have, they're easy to find, easy to locate. Your fingers just kind of rest on them. They do have a nice click to them. The analog sticks, they're not bad. They're not great. Again, there's no R3, L2 click down on these, but they don't feel horrible. They're not the highest of quality, but again, $60. Remember that. But I think they feel good. The buttons, they're like a matte. They don't really have a texture to them. They do have kind of a rounded top to them, but they feel nice. They have a little bit of an audible click to them, but nothing too bad. Same with the shoulder buttons, a little bit of an audible click to them. The D-pad is probably the worst part as far as any of the buttons go. It does have kind of a crunchy, not so good feel to it. I'm guessing that I haven't had this apart or anything, but I'm guessing that the rubber membrane under here is not the highest quality. But it works. And in games, both the analog stick and the D-pad, there are some like false diagonals when you're controlling it. And again, I don't think this is something for, as it sits, for the hard gamer, serious gamer, somebody who's playing, that is picky with that type of stuff. I don't think this is for them, right? This is for, the mom or dad who, is going down memory lane, playing games from the past, or, exposing their kids to, retro games, for them, right? Like, a first time yet large screen, right? If you're an older person, like myself, our eyes aren't as good as they used to be. So the larger screens are kind of nice. I still like, the 2.8s and 3-inch screens, from the RG28 XX or the Mu Mini 830. I still like those, but there may be some people that just have the preference of the smaller screen, the bigger screens, and don't like that small form factor. So as far as I/O, you on the top you have it does output through HDMI to a TV, 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, and we'll discuss that later because that's important. A single SD card, volume up and down, power button, and then on the bottom, 2 micro USB ports for external controllers, and then a USB-C charging port. Nothing on the back really. It does have some designations on the back. I kind of like this. Tells you exactly what they are. Little controller symbols here to tell you those are for external controllers. Does have the reset button there. That little hole. DC 5 volt TF HD headphone plus minus and power. So it is what it is there. Weight wise, I've heard a lot of people complain about it being too light, flimsy, fragile. It's got some weight to it. It's heavier than I thought. Based off some of the reviews I saw, it's got some heavier weight to it than I was expecting. I think it's about 4 kilograms. So it's not. It doesn't get heavy while you're playing it. That's nice. But I think it is what it is, and I think the weight of it is good. Ergonomics, like I said, I think the ergonomics are good. Would have been nice to have a little bit more handle on the back, but it does sit flat. Cases are probably going to be very plentiful and easy for this because there isn't a lot of different design that they're going to have to work around. So it's just a flat case. So overall, for design and build quality, I think it is what it is. I think for $60, I think you're getting a pretty solid device. So a lot of people disagree with that, but in my opinion, I think it's okay. So the next thing we're going to talk about is the display. So the display is something that I've heard a lot of people talk about. I agree with some of it. I disagree with others. Like I said, it is a 7-inch screen. The resolution is a 1024 by 600. The brightness, contrast, there isn't any, we'll talk about this a little further, but there isn't any settings in the UI. There's no, there doesn't, at least that I've been able to find, and I've looked through the thing, doesn't seem to be any adjusting of the brightness, the contrast, gamma, anything like that. You kind of get what you get. So maybe there's some hot buttons to control that. I haven't seen that. I haven't read up on it. But as far as in the settings, it doesn't appear to be anything. So it is a fairly bright screen. I think the colors are fine. As you can see, I mean, you can see my camera up there. It's very reflective. The screen is very reflective. I would prefer to see a little bit more of a matte screen. The viewing angles on this are awful. You're basically straight on. You're perpendicular to the screen. Any variation, too much variation in any angle, and you're not going to see it. So this is a low light game rig. This is going to be indoor. You're not going to play this outside unless you're undercover, direct sunlight or bright light, and it kind of washes it out. And the reflection is awful. But at the same time, for a $60 device that has a 7-inch screen that is for playing retro games up to PS1, this has a better image, better quality, better resolution than anything you probably would have played any of these games on in the past. So I'm okay with it, right? I would like to have had some brightness controls and some contrast controls and the ability to adjust it, and we'll discuss that more in the OS and the UI part of this review, because there's a lot left there that probably could need some changing. So again, poor viewing angles, too reflective. A low light device. You're not going to play this outside, but the colors are fine. And like I said, I think the screen is okay. I don't have it for the device and for the price. I think it's good. I think people are blowing it out of proportion for what it is. I think they're trying to think this is more than it is. So display, again, I give it a thumbs up. I don't have a problem with it. So next we'll get into the controls, right? Because that's really my first part of this device where I think even for the price, they probably could have stepped it up a tiny bit. I would have liked to have had, clickable analogs. Not necessary really for the games you're going to be emulating on this, but if you have them, I mean, how much extra could that have cost? But like I said, they're okay. They're not great. The D-pad is really the one. The shoulder buttons, they feel good. They have a nice click. The face buttons, the A, B, X, Y buttons have a nice feel to them, nice click. All the other smaller incidental buttons, the select, the start, the return button here, or menu button, all feel good. It's the D-pad that I have an issue with. And again, it's not the feel of it. It actually feels nice. But it's the rubber membrane underneath is just kind of, it feels chunky. It makes a weird, odd noise, and it has a strange feel. And then during the gameplay, same with the analog and the D-pad, you do get a lot of false diagonals with it. It totally fails like the Contra test and some other tests that I've seen people do. But again, if you put better analog sticks, better D-pad, the second shoulder buttons, does this go from being a $60 device or $50 to $60 device to being a $100 device? Maybe. So again, I'm kind of fine with it where it is. maybe they'll come out with some, upgrades, upgraded D button, upgraded screen, stuff like that. That if you wanted to, you could play. But for the average person, it's probably going to be fine. The layout, I'm good with. When you're holding it, I think we talked before, the ergonomics of it was good. My fingers, medium-sized hands, my fingers lay right on the shoulder buttons real well. And my thumbs sit on the analog stick, and it's pretty easy to move. They are a little bit further away, if they had been up like another, if this distance here had been halved, it might have been a little bit easier to move back and forth, but it's not bad. I'm okay with it. Someone with bigger hands or a lot smaller hands, might have some issues with it. But the responsiveness on the controls, it's okay. It actually feels fine in game. I didn't really have a problem in game with any responsiveness, but I did in the UI navigating, like the menus and stuff, especially the search. There was some unresponsive button clicking, but for some reason in the games it didn't seem to affect it. And again, I'm not a serious competitive gamer, and I don't get as serious about it as some people do. So other people may disagree. Actually, a lot of people do. I've heard people say that they didn't like them, but I think for the majority of the people that are going to be purchasing this machine or this device, this handheld, they're going to be fine with that. Durability, I don't know about. Okay, obviously I've only had this for like 3 weeks. I've only played it probably a total of an hour prior to this, so I don't know. Just by initial feel, I think that these analog sticks and maybe the D-pad and even the shoulder buttons, if you have hours and hours and hours, tens of hours, hundreds of hours, who knows if anybody would play that much on this, you might start to get some wear and tear, and some failing sticks or buttons. And who knows? And eventually I'll open this up and see. I'm guessing, it's easily repairable, either by yourself or to, have someone repair it. At $60, maybe you would just replace it. Who knows? But hopefully it lasts. Hopefully the durability on the buttons feel okay. And like I said, the overall build quality, although a little fragile and light, and lacking in areas, for $60, it's not bad. So, like I said, the controls could be better, but I think they are what they are, and for the majority of us, I don't think they're going to be an issue. So, controls, I don't know, maybe a B- on the controls. So next we'll talk about the performance, right? The performance of the device. Go over a little bit of the specs on it. This is powered by the ATM 7051 quad-core processor, and I think it's clocked about 900 megahertz. So it's not a speed demon by any means. I think it has 128 megabytes of DDR2 RAM. So it's not a super powerhouse, right? You're not going to be playing, PSP or N64 game. This is PS1 and under, and even some PS1 games. Maybe you may have a problem with it. I don't know. I've played a few and I haven't really had an issue, but not a speed demon by any means. Everything that I have played plays well. The performance of it, the gameplay is generally smooth, but again, if you push that, you may experience some stuttering and some slowdowns, but games all loaded quick, what are the PS1 being what comes on this factory PS1, are the most demanding games on it, and they loaded fine, they played fine, didn't have an issue with it. I think if you stay in that range, PS1 and under, you're gonna be fine. So I don't think performance is really an issue. Something of this size, would it have been nice to see the H700 or better, or some really nice rock chip or something like that, so that you could play PSP and N64 and Dreamcast, stuff like that. But again, you're going to be higher in price, right? You're going to be more in the $100 range plus, and not $50 or $60 where this sits. So where it's at, I think the performance is fine. Loading times are good. I heard a lot of people say that it got warm. Now, that may be the case. I haven't experienced that. The longest I've played it for is probably 30 to 40 minutes of continuous gameplay. And there was some warmth on the back, but it wasn't out of the ordinary, I don't think, for a device like this. Something as thin as it is, there's no real venting of any kind in this. And I think for that, I don't think it got that warm. So, like I said, and it's not a performance beast, so it's only going to get so warm. Performance of the battery, so it does have a 3500 milliamp battery in it. I suspect, even with this size screen, it's not a exceptional screen. So I don't know the battery draw on this, or the amount of time you're going to get. I suspect you'll get, based off my play of about an hour, I suspect you're going to get 6 hours of play out of this on its single charge. Maybe more, depending on the games you're playing. But if you could turn the brightness down on the screen, maybe you could extend that battery life out. But I think if you got it 6 hours on this, I'd be happy with that. I think most people would. I don't think most people are going to be heavily playing 6, 8, 10 hours on this and need to be able to charge that. So maybe I'm wrong, but I think 6 hours is a pretty solid battery performance on this. So performance for the $60 range for this device, and for up to PS1 games, I think the performance is good. I don't have an issue there. So I think anybody who bought this at $60 to play up to PS1 would be happy with it. So again, we're good there too. All right, so next we'll kind of talk about my biggest issue with this, I guess. I have two real glaring issues with this, and the first one is the audio. It's the first thing on this that I think is just dreadful, right? I think even at $60, they could have put a couple better speakers in this. The speakers in this are tinny. They sound terrible. If you keep it, if you're in a quiet area and you can keep the volume low, it doesn't sound horrible. But if you have any type of hearing issues, or you're playing in louder areas and you need to turn this sound up, at the higher levels, this starts to sound really bad. And I think that could have been better. I think at $60, they could have put a couple better speakers in this and still kept the price the same. So that's my real issue with it, is the audio. I think the sound is really bad. It does have, as they advertise, stereo dual speakers. They're just bad stereo dual speakers. So that is why I said in the beginning this was so important. So if you put a set of headphones in here, earbuds wired, you get much better sound out of it. So if I was going to be playing this even in a quiet area for an extended period of time, I'd throw a set of headphones on, throw in a set of earbuds, and have my sound that way. It's the only way you're going to get decent sound out of this thing, because again, speakers are dreadful. So The controls for it on right here. And there is no volume indication. That's another issue. So you just kind of go up and down, and it is what it is. But there's no indication of what the volume is set at. That's another thing that, at least on this one, I don't know if there's something wrong with it. I don't know, but if someone else has had a different experience, but in the UI, when this thing is turned on, I get no volume indication at all. So, but again, it's just, I think at any volume, other than the headphones, it's just not going to be good anyways. So next we'll discuss the UI, the user interface of this, and maybe we should, in this we'll kind of lump in that whole, the OS, the operating system for this, because it's not good. That's my other issue. And we'll fire this up in a bit and go over it. The operating system on this, the UI, how you navigate this thing is just awful. And it looks bad too. They tried to make it kind of really bright and vibrant in a lot of colors, but it's just bad. Navigation is clunky. That's where your responsiveness on your buttons is poor. In-game, not so bad, but in the navigation of it, it's very unresponsive. Some things just don't work, and the things that do work are just poor. The menus are odd. They're named weird, which again isn't always uncommon for these type of devices. The naming can be off. I think things get sometimes lost in translation between different languages. So the naming schema is weird, and it's just not a good user experience as far as turning the thing on and getting to your game. Right? Once you're in your game, you're fine. But the menu button here, the return to menu, when you get, that's probably the best thing in here. Going to that and then exiting, returning, saving, that's probably the best thing about the user interface with this. And I think it's the biggest drawback with this. The audio and the OS, the firmware, the user interface with this is just poor. I hope maybe someday there might be a custom firmware like MuOS or Onion or Newly, or somebody makes a custom firmware with this that is better, or maybe Powkiddy comes out with a update that improves it. I don't know though. This thing has received kind of such bad reviews and everything that it may just get forgotten. It may not pick up in the community and have a lot of interest. Maybe because I think it could be upgradable, and I think if it had a good operating system and maybe a D-pad upgrade or maybe a screen replacement upgrade, this thing could be very good. Again, you're not going to get that performance increase, but those things upgraded up to PS1 would make this a very good device. The user interface, again, not the greatest, but if you're just somebody who isn't in the hobby and isn't aware of that, it might not be too bad for you, because if you don't know any better, but again, you're still gonna experience that kind of clunky unresponsiveness in navigating the menus, the display, or the user interface. So that you're not going to get away with. Anybody's going to be able to notice that. That's probably my lowest grade here, is the operating system and the navigation, the UI of this. That's probably my lowest. That and the audio. I always go back to that audio. But so for user interface and operating system, you're in the D for a grade on that one. So I think the last thing we'll talk about before we fire this thing up and kind of see it running is the connectivity of it. So it does also, one of its drawbacks is it does lack Wi-Fi. Again, in a device of this price and for who I think this is good for, that might not matter. But it doesn't have Wi-Fi, doesn't have Bluetooth. So wired controller connections only, and again, no internet, no Wi-Fi. So firmware updates are going to have to be done via the SD card. It does support the HDMI, so you can hook this up to a larger TV and play that. So that part of the connectivity, that and the external controllers is okay. But no Wi-Fi, no Bluetooth. So some people might have a problem with that. I don't necessarily have an issue with it. I think, again, for the price and for who this is geared towards, I don't think they're going to even maybe want to have Wi-Fi. And then, again, where these generally are made and come from, somebody might not even want to put something like this on their Wi-Fi, even if it had it. So I don't have a problem with it there. So I think as far as the overview and the what's going on with this device, we've kind of talked about all of the things that I think are kind of important to talk about with this device, and hopefully, this type of device is, somebody may be interested in it. And if you are, I say go out and get it. I think for $60, I wouldn't have a problem buying this device. I think you could have a lot of fun with this. I think your kids could have a lot of fun with this. And I think for $60, it's a nice little handheld. So, or big handheld actually. It's the biggest handheld that, as far as retro handhelds, it's the biggest one I have. So, what we're going to do now is we are going to start this up. So, you just kind of hold the power button for 6 seconds or so. And it will turn on. Welcome, and it has kind of a blue, red and yellow, color scheme to it, theme. And like I said, I think they were trying to make it look really high end, and it looks strange to me. So you'll see this upper menu here. This is your navigation through it. So you have list, type, history, favorites, search, and then file. Right. So there's no settings. There's like system setup. So if you press X, you can go in here. Oh, okay. So there, actually, I was wrong earlier. You do have backlight brightness. You do have some settings here. So again, I haven't looked through this enough, but I was totally wrong there. It does have language settings, desktop theme. I haven't looked through that. This is probably going to be really important because I think the theme, the design of it is kind of really bright and in your face. But your brightness and backlight settings here, that might be something I might have to look into. So, but the navigation of it, so there's roughly 318 pages of games. So this list here, this just lists every game that's on the device, and there's 318 pages of it, right? And I drives me nuts when they do this. They're not in alphabetical order, right? So they're all numbered. So 1.001 and then some other designation of that. And there doesn't seem to be any rhyme or reason about how things are numbered. So you aren't going to scroll through 318 pages of this to see every game. So if you navigate through these menus here with the shoulder buttons, right? So, and that's the part that's the responsiveness, that there's a problem, right? So when I click that, like there's a significant delay in when that switches over. And sometimes you'll hit the button and it just won't move. But I don't see that in the gameplay. And again, I only got, 30 to 45 minutes of gameplay on this, maybe an hour. So maybe I just haven't noticed it in the game as far as the responsiveness, but it's not good. So the next one, type, that's the type of emulator, the type of console, and again, you have CPS, FBA, Famicom, Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Color, Neo Geo, SFC, so Super Nintendo, Megadisc, Sega, and then PlayStation. So the easiest way to navigate this, and I don't know if I mentioned, obviously this is a Linux-based system, a custom Linux-based system, and it runs some odd emulating engine. What, I don't even know what it is. It's not RetroArch. It's kind of strange. It does emulate well. Everything seems fine. And I haven't looked into that side of it. All the games seem to play well. But you go into each one of these. So if we come into here to to Super Mario, or to Super Nintendo, again, it's numbered and it's not alphabetical, and you only have 10 pages, right? So you can scroll page by page, but it's not easy to find a game that you're looking for. So please, Powkiddy, Anbernick, Mew, any of the companies out there creating these retro handhelds with games that come on them, just put everything in alphabetically, right? It makes it easier. So it's especially important on this one because we're going to talk about the search function on this, and it's awful. So type, right? So you can scroll through all the different ones. I've spent most of my time in PS. We'll see the next menu item over. We're going to move to that. It's history. So these are the games that I've already played. Interstellar Contra, Altered Beast, Super Punch-Out, Knights of Valor, Command & Conquer Red Alert, Initial D, Super Mario Brothers, Pokemon Silver. So there's some good games on this. It's just finding them is a challenge. So once you find the game you want to play, right, you just hit A, run the game. B, returns. That's pretty normal. You can favorite games. So you can have a favorite. I think you'll probably end up just going off the history or the type, but I'm usually not one to favorite games, so this doesn't apply to me as much, but some people may choose to use that function. This is where this is my biggest problem. I mean, the whole UI is just kind of clunky and weird anyways, but the search doesn't work. So one, if this was a touchscreen, that would be really cool because it's got a nice big keyboard with it. But so we looked right in history. I played Command & Conquer Red Alert. So I came in here. I had an idea that game was on this, right? I think I saw it in a review, Command & Conquer Red Alert, and I was like, when I got this, I wanted to play that. I didn't want to go piling through the menus, to try to find it. So I came in here and I was like, let's find Red Alert. So I didn't even want to type red, right? I was like, okay, I'll give them alert, Red Alert. Let's see, get back over here. See, that's kind of and this is another thing. You'll be going along. This is where the false diagonals, like especially with the analog stick, see, you'll go over and you'll just get these false diagonals. And of course, it's not doing it as often right now. So, but yeah, Red Alert, right? And you guys saw it in the history, you saw it, I played it, you saw that game's on here, and you put it in, you go down to search, and, right, nothing. And it's like that with everything. I have typed in the names of all the games that I wanted to play that I knew were on this thing, and not one of them shows up when I search for it. Now, the only time I've been able to get this search function to work is by putting single letters in, right? So I put a single letter, A. Tons of stuff shows up. Now, I suspect that maybe this only works if it's case sensitive. So I was like, okay, let's go back in and come on. Let's go in and try that. So red was capitalized, but I don't even know if that will work, right? So we get a capital R because I had alert in there, and alert is lowercase in the game title. But let's see. We'll just do red. Oh, those false diagonals are awful. Red, right? Okay, so then we get everything with red, and you get Command and Conquer. But if you just type in red alert or red lowercase r, so see, red alert is capital R lowercase a. If you're all lowercase, so the search functionality on this is case sensitive. How ridiculous is that? Because if you just type in red alert, it doesn't come up. But if you type in red capital R alert, then it shows up. I don't know, that boggles my mind. And then you have the last menu on here is this, file structure. Go in, and I guess you could come in here and see what the games are. Now, I wish you could actually rename these, because I actually would like to go through this, and I would like to take the SD out of this and throw it in my computer and go through and rename and get rid of all of these number designations, and just have everything alphabetical. But again, that's kind of insane to have to do. Just leave the numbers out, guys. Okay. But let's go to, which one do we want to play? Let's just do Mario Brothers 3, right? So I don't know how well you'll be able to hear the audio on this. Because, like I said, it's not good, but it may sound perfectly fine on. Like I said, I don't know how turned up it is, but let's see. That's there. And I don't know how well the color is coming across on the screen, but just because it's so reflective. But the games itself, like I said, they're not bad. Or the controls, everything seems to control fine. It's, it is what it is. But it plays fine. All the games that I've played on this actually play great. But like I said, that audio you're not gonna like. I don't know why I did that. But yeah, like I said, I think the games play fine. I haven't had any issue with any of the games on it. So I think this return button here, this has your guys might be able to hear my dogs barking right now. Sorry about that. So I think this is actually my favorite part about the UI in here, is that this is easy. You come into this thing here, you can save, or what we're going to do right now, you can exit. So, for what it is, it works well. My gripes about it are bad audio, and the UI. I don't like the UI. I'm gonna play with the themes in there. Now that we saw, we saw that you can come in here and change a desktop theme. So, well, actually, since we're right there, let's see what that looks like. Okay, so we just changed that, and I really doesn't change anything. It just basically changes like the color, but everything is the same. So by themes, it's just colored. So I think it needs some work. I think the D-pad is bad. I think the audio is bad, and I think the OS is bad. But the gameplay and the controls and everything about the device, as far as playing your games, is fine. I don't have an issue with any of that. And for $60 and this nice size and at 7 inches, I think it's a decent device. It's not the best. It's not the worst. I think it's somewhere in the lower middle half somewhere. But I would recommend this to someone who is just looking for a larger screen to play up to PS1 games. Not the heavy gamer, but just the average Joe who wants to play those games and prefers a larger screen. Doesn't like the small 2.8, 3-inch, 4-inch screens. You want something bigger. I think this fits really good in that. So I think that's it, guys. We've gone over everything that I think is important for someone who might be looking to buy this type of machine or this device, this exact device. Again, I got it through Powkiddy. Shipping was good. $60. I don't think I paid anything for shipping. I think it was free shipping, and I think I got it in like 2 weeks, roughly. So it wasn't fast shipping, but again, I think you get what you pay for. So again, thanks guys for watching. Go out and buy this device if you agree with what I say. If you don't, that's okay too. We can disagree and still be friends. So I hope you enjoy this video, and until the next one, have a good one.